Hello and welcome to Socket, everyone. Today I am joined by a friend of mine, Jacque Clermont. Jacque and I were just trying to figure out where on earth we met each other, and it was way back when.
Way back when.
Way back when, part of the young professionals of Naperville. I think I've had a couple of other people on that's where we go back to, and that was our starting point. But as the years and now decades start to go by, it's unbelievable how much time has passed. So welcome, Jacque.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Jacque is a mom of four, correct?
Yes, I am.
How old are they now?
So I have a sophomore girl, a freshman boy, a seventh grade boy, and a fifth grade boy.
So you're like smack dab in the heart of all the things and all the emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I have to say parenthood is the hardest job I've ever signed up for, but a blessing, a lot of fun. And you learn a lot from yourself once you become a parent.
Yeah, that is certainly the truth. Jacque is also the director of community relations for a local school district. So while we're not going to go down the wormhole of all that has entailed in the year of a pandemic, because I can only just give you props for being someone right in the spotlight. It's been a tough thing, I'm sure, to navigate. And I always tell people when they ask me questions as a chiropractor about COVID or the pandemic, I say it's just so uber complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 14 things that need to go together in the right direction to understand it all. And
there's a lot of layers.
It's a lot of layers.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about today kind of like keeping yourself healthy and keeping your mind healthy, your body healthy, going through really stressful chapters of our lives, which I think most people would consider 2020 a relatively stressful chapter of our collective lives. So to get started, if you can just share a little bit more about things you like to do,
sure,
your time off, give us a little rundown of Jacque.
Yes. So things I like to do. Things I like to do have kind of become things our family likes to do, right? My teenagers, now that they're teenagers, have their own, agenda with their things they like to do. But family, I have a dog, I have a cat, I have a guinea pig. I love my animals. My husband and I enjoy music, hanging out with friends. A lot of the things we normally enjoy are kind of limited right now. But with having to be home more and having to be together more, I think our unit has grown a little stronger too. My husband and I, when in a normal time, non-pandemic, we are two ships sailing, bringing kids to activities, all that we sign up for and all that we enjoy. But, you got this one, you got that one, I'll drive this one. So any silver lining with the pandemic is, my husband and I have got to spend more time together. I would say the majority of it has been delightful. I mean, sometimes you're like, wow, we're spending a lot of time together. But I would still say yes, right? So that's a good point. Being healthy, mind and body and all of those things are tough.
Yeah.
Right? You're on a path and then, you veer off so for a healthy mind, I think I've been blessed with always trying to find the silver lining in something, even when it's, crappy. I think that's a tool I've always had, and I'm grateful for that. This year, I actually went through COVID myself.
Right.
Yep. And I actually lost my dad this year to COVID, which, was devastating. But a silver lining, and I know it's horrible to say a silver lining in the death of your father, but we were in Myrtle Beach visiting my parents. They had COVID and we contracted COVID while we were there visiting. We quarantined there. So we were there, I was supposed to be there for 5 days and I was there for 3 weeks, right?
Oh, wow.
Right.
I remember seeing pictures and
So I was there with my 10-year-old. My 10-year-old and then my sister who lives in DC. So a silver lining was I got to spend 3 weeks with my 10-year-old. I'm the youngest of my family, usually doesn't get that much attention. And then that time I got to spend with my sister, what we were going through was tough, but those, like, we'll remember that 3 weeks that we were stuck at the beach, you know?
Yeah.
So I think healthy mind is just always trying to find a positive, even in like the darkest times, kind of teaches yourself lessons, right?
Let's dig into that a little bit more, because I am certainly like you. I kind of get blamed sometimes for being a little too happy, or
Yeah,
like
it's annoying sometimes a little bit.
Right, like, oh, there's Dr. Cathy again with her positivity, So are there practices that you have? Like, do you feel like you were kind of born with that? Were your parents like that? Was it a learned behavior? Was it a combination? Are there things, I do like meditations at night, and I really focus on gratitude and try to shift perspective. What are your tools, or, how do you feel like you got to that place?
Well, I've tried meditation, but I have a monkey mind. I mean, it just is, jumping all over the place. So it's hard for me to get through like a 2-minute meditation. I think it came out of just trying to like be a caregiver and make people feel better. So if you were ever in a situation where someone was upset, or, it made you uncomfortable because you wanted to make somebody feel better, you always, well, if you look at it this way, or, the silver lining. So I think it came out of that more, of just wanting, trying to help people feel better about whatever it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes, darn it, I don't want to be that positive person. Right. Yeah. But it has served me well. So I think if you can dig down and find the positive in the negative, it's a win-win. Yeah.
Right. I regularly have that practice as well, where I'm just, whatever it is, no matter, there are a few things I'm going to take off this list, like a death of a child, like, there's certain things I'm just going to remove off this list.
Sure.
So,
right.
But there are lessons learned. There are things, like you said, spending that time with your son that you never, ever would have had. Right. It's awful that your dad passed away. That's awful.
Yes. But horrible.
If you can just focus your mind all on that and make the whole thing negative, or you can open up your mind to the thought process that at the same time, you got this gift of time with your youngest son, who, like you said, is probably like, hey, who's got him? Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of him today?
Right. Right.
And so I've had things in my life that have been, I think about Cafe and Play. I mentioned it on a podcast I did last week.
My kids love that place.
Oh, I thank you. One of my friends reached out to me. She listened to the podcast. She's like, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but we loved it there. And I didn't know her back then. I'm like, I didn't even know you went. So I get, like, along the years, like, Facebook memories will pop up, right? And people reach out to me with a picture of their, I just found this picture of Xander when he was, 6 years old, or whatever. And instead of looking at it as this awful financial devastation, which is what it was, I really try to focus on, but it was alive with connection for 3 years, right? And people enjoyed it, and they have good memories. And I have patients that have a little bit older kids now that used to go to Cafe and Play, and they said every time they drive by, they look at what's now Advanced Auto Parts, which is the opposite of Cafe and Play. And they're like, remember that used to be Cafe and Play. I'm like, oh, it's just so sweet. So
yes,
I do try to plug into, again, opening up your mind to, there's numerous things going on at one time. And I luckily get to choose what I focus my mind on. And if that's a little Pollyanna to people, all right, well, it serves me well, and it keeps me going in the right direction. Right.
Yes. Positivity is key. Laughter. Yeah. Being silly, all that stuff.
Yep. I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember whose it was. They were talking about laughing at really inappropriate times. I'm like, oh.
That is me. And it's so immature and, like, sometimes unprofessional. So I have to be like, okay, only laugh inside.
Right.
Outside. Yeah.
Now, are you of the kind of law of attraction mindset? Like, do you kind of think about the things that you want and try to focus on the future of who you're becoming, or do you get into
I don't, but I would like to. I think I need to sometimes slow down a little bit, right? Because I think I miss those steps of, where do I want to see myself in, however many years. I think everything's just so quick right now in my life that my pause is on fast forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I need to work more on my pause.
Yeah. And that, for me, I think this year, some of it's been on fast forward. I don't have the role that you have. So I'm not in the spotlight of something specific like a pandemic. But so for me, it's been part fast forward and then part like big pause. Like I didn't leave the house for a week. Like a couple weeks ago, I took off on Monday. I'm in the office on Monday and Wednesdays to see people. And I took off Monday right after the holiday. And I realized that as I was leaving the house Wednesday morning to go to my practice, I looked at Jason. I'm like, I haven't left the house in a week. And I don't know that I've been in anything other than pajamas. And it didn't even faze me. It never occurred to me.
Well, and I think that's okay. Like, as long as you let yourself know that that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's good. I'm always, with the kids is, when they were younger, I'd sign them up for soccer and get on at noon because they had to be on that team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the older you get, you realize that team wasn't for my son. That team was because I wanted to sit next to, so you realize the priority, like the importance of the things that you, gives you anxiety or, oh my gosh, we have to sign up and do all of these things. No, you don't. You don't. Right. So and as a young mother, that was hard. That was hard because I did want my children to be on the teams. I wanted, the things you think are important, down the line really, really aren't. Right.
I see people, I see lots of moms and kids at the practice, and so often the moms look absolutely exhausted and used up. And they might have 3 kids and they have 3 activities each, and they're literally living in a minivan or a SUV and eating fast food a lot of times of the week because they just don't have time to do anything else. And every once in a while, it depends on who the person is, I'll kind of challenge them and say, you don't actually have to do this, right? If this,
I would have appreciated that challenge about 15 years ago.
I don't think I've made anyone change their minds. But what's interesting is with the forced slowdown, with how many of those same people are now like, that was nice. I needed that. And so now I think as people start slowly getting back into things, I'm hopeful that people will be, moms in general, because that's kind of the world I live in with the branch moms, but that moms in general and parents in general will be a little more mindful of kind of a slow roll. Like, let's pick one activity each and let's see how that feels. Let's see where that settles. Can we have dinner 3 nights a week as a family because of that, which we never were? I don't know. I just think, I think there's those are really, really great lessons to be learned.
Yeah. I have a child right now that is in 0 activities.
Yeah.
And I think it's the first time in Doug and I's, parenting that we've had a child not in anything. And like right away, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm worried socially, going through like, oh, and then my husband, Doug, was like, why? It's okay. Right. I'm like, all right, good balance. We're a good balance for right.
And the other thing that you were mentioning, I wanted to, with the meditations. So I have an app on my phone. It's called Breathe.
Yeah, I know that app.
Yeah. So I'm just going to look. I've done a meditation twice. And the first time I did it, it's 33 minutes. So I know that maybe
that would seem like all day for me.
But it's called life visioning meditation. And so in this meditation, they do a lot of breathing, and then you're kind of walking down a tunnel for what, like they're guiding you to walk down. I do the meditations at night and I just put my earbuds in. Half the time I fall asleep with them and I wake up and the earbuds are like at my feet or something.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing gymnastics in my sleep or something, but what happens is you're going down and he's having you breathe certain ways, in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through, all these different ways. kind of you get far enough and you're like, where are you going with this? And by the time you get to the tunnel, by the time there's light coming into the tunnel, because at first it was dark, or at least that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
You see someone at the end of it and you keep walking towards them as you're breathing, and you find out later, I'm going to break this big surprise to you, but that you're actually meeting your future self.
Oh, I probably wouldn't make it down all the way to the tunnel. So thank you for telling me.
It was really interesting. And now your body is so relaxed.
Ah,
And, there's different parts of your brain that get activated at different parts. So you're not judging yourself as much, right? Because sometimes you'll be like, oh, great, I'm gonna have a conversation with my future self. But it really was interesting. It was asking you like, what is he or she telling you? What does she look like? What is she wearing? What things does she like? What is she showing you as part of your life now? And I just thought I found it fascinating. But
yeah.
maybe you should try 5-minute meditation.
I should try that. I'll start with the 5 and then I'll let you know how that goes.
All right.
Yeah.
But it helps me sleep because it really does get my brain out of my brain, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm a meditation pusher at this point. I guess I'm a drug pusher, but
Yes, I would agree with that. When I stayed at home for 9 years with my children. So I've had both of the, stay at home view, and now back to the professional view. And I used to practice Bikram yoga when I was home.
Oh,
And that definitely was a meditation for me. But I do better if it's like guided and someone's like by you, but I do miss that. That was a great opportunity.
Isn't that like super hot?
Yeah, really hot, 90 minutes. I look back and I'm like, when did I ever have time for that? But I made it, right? So do you really want to do it? You make the time.
Yeah. No, you have to be intentional and carve it out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Schedule it out.
No, they had childcare too, so that was helpful.
Oh, that is so,
Yeah,
for sure. All right. So we're kind of talking about little yoga. Let's move into keeping your body healthy. Like how, especially during this past year when you are, going a million miles, and what do you do? What do you do for stress relief, for exercise?
That too is a roller coaster, right? I've always worked out, always. I would say 3 years ago when Doug's mother passed away, I did take a year off. Like I just needed, and it did nothing good for me. I mean, it really didn't. My mind, I thought I was, let something go. That was not the thing to let go. Okay. But I've kind of been jumping around with workouts. I have a girlfriend that when I moved into our current neighborhood that I've been running with, for how old is Lil? For about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And I have to say, that's our therapy. My girlfriend Maureen and I run. It's literally we chat and talk about real stuff and honest stuff. And she'll tell me if I'm, oh, why are you worried about that? Just back and forth. And it truly is the therapy for both of us. Mm-hmm. So we've always done that. And it's good to have a partner because, you don't want to blow off your friend. And then right now I just started doing shred, which is, what is it? Like a boot camp type of a class. Yeah. If I had all the time in the world, I would practice yoga every day.
Okay.
I love yoga. It works well for me. I feel like I'm more in tune with myself when I'm practicing. And right now I'm not. But I hope to get back to that soon because I think that served me well.
I did yoga for a while, and then last May I tore a tendon in my elbow, which is not good when you're a chiropractor. I think it was. People were like, "Oh man, how did you do it?" I literally picked up a heavy pan off of the stove and I rotated it. I've rotated it 45 degrees with my arm to try to put the leftovers in a leftover container, and I felt like a knife went into my elbow. So I think it was 22 years of adjusting. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So because I'm super smart, a half an hour later, I picked up the exact same heavy pan with the same arm. And
because we're resilient. We can keep doing it over and over.
And I put it into the sink and I rotated and I just lost my marbles. It was so much, I was in so much pain. Next day I woke up, it didn't really hurt that bad. So I, for the next 2 weeks, I adjusted a lot of patients, and at the end of those 2 weeks, I mean, with every adjustment, I was like, it just kept getting worse and worse. So Anyway, it's been challenging for me. Now, it's, I certainly can do yoga and modify it, but it is
Sure.
hard. Like I can't even do like a downward dog.
It's not easy.
No, no.
Yeah.
And I've done yoga classes where I truly have thought, if this is the only exercise that you did, I think it's the most complete exercise, because it was a,
Yes. Mind and body, for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like a vinyasa flow. There's obviously different types of yoga,
Hmm.
but doing it where you're moving the entire time. And we, we had this time, I was going with my friend Monica. We were going to a place in Plainfield, and Monica and I both carry a little extra weight on us. We're a little older than your, typical 35-year-old, 30 to 35-year-old, extremely fit mama bear that's in the gym. And so we started, and she sent me a text and she's like, I have to tell you, I love that we do yoga. She's like, I feel like a rock star. So the next yoga session that we went to, we're in the middle of this, we're dripping sweat.
Yeah.
And all this, everyone's in one position, kind of forward, like on hands and knees. And the teacher's like, all right, now everyone into rock star. And everyone but Monica and I did this like, whoosh, and like all of a sudden they're backwards, like upside down, like on all fours.
Rock star.
Rock star.
Yes.
And I bust out laughing. And I said to Monica, I go, are we rock stars now? Because we're both like, I can't do that.
Well, my first Bikram class, I took my girlfriend Maureen, who we run with. And during it, it was like my mom, I was like, this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
And she looked over at me, and I'll beep out a word, but she said, get me the beep out of here. I'm like, so things are for some people and not for others, right? So you just got to find what's for you.
No,
Yeah.
that is the truth. That is
Uh-huh.
true. I'm looking forward to getting back to some semblance of it. And it's just me being a little bit lazy to not find something.
Yeah. But I think we have to be kind to ourselves, and it's okay if you're lazy. It's okay if you push the snooze and you don't go, as long as you keep trying to go.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever that goal is.
That's so true. And
Yeah.
I did a podcast on just like how we talk to ourselves.
Oh gosh.
I need to get, I don't know who told me I was lazy when I was little, because dude, I have it in my subconscious that I am lazy.
Yes.
I'm not freaking lazy.
If I'm sitting around, I'm like, why am I sitting here?
Maybe because you've been going for 23 hours of the rest of the 24 hours for that day.
Maybe, but I got to get better at that.
I know.
And
just to not, like you said, give a little grace. Like,
yeah,
we have a lot going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, not only you're navigating emotions and physical and mental health of yourself, but many of us have spouses or partners. Many of us have children that are, have lost a lot of, their kind of childhood experience for this year so far.
Yeah.
And so to navigate that and try to create some format of healthy life balance is a task that is no small feat.
Yes, but we're doing it.
I know we are.
Right? We're doing it. And in your, long lifeline, this is just a little bitty part of it. So we're all going to be more resilient. I don't have to deal with, a child with special needs, or those kind of things would be even more challenging. So, I give grace to all of those parents that are, don't have the services or help that they usually have, because that's a big deal.
It really is. And my children are also 17 and 18, and they manage their own lives.
Yeah.
They're kind of like semi-launched.
Right.
Which I went through about a month and a half of, am I okay with this? Like I have an ex-husband who has a place, and it's kind of set up like a man pad. Like literally you walk up the stairs and the living room is a fully functioning gym. And so,
Hey.
yeah. And so as a 17 and 8-year-old boy, do you think you're going to bring your friends over to your mom's house and go in the basement, or you're going to like bring them to this cool man pad,
Right.
And so they've been there a lot more. I mean, throughout our divorce, they've kind of gone back and forth 50-50. They live with me for a little bit. Then they're a little bit more there. And I'm like, I barely see them at this point. That being said, they are craving and finding their independence independence, which is what children are supposed to.
Yes, they're supposed to fly, right?
Yeah, but when they start flapping those wings strong enough and you're
Yeah.
like,
You're like,
oh! And
well, I look at all these.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, the 4 children, right? And I had them all in just under 7 years. So it was a blurry, I don't remember most of it, but I'll see parents walking around with these little bitty kids and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I did that, but I guess because we're older now, it's like, oh my gosh, like that's so much work.
I know.
Right. But now that they're older, my youngest is 10, but he's the youngest of 4. So he is self-sufficient. But that too is a little sadness in it of being like, oh gosh, how much time do we have left with everybody in the nest?
I know it's weird. Jason and I feel like a little bit of part-time empty nesters. We're not, we still have all 3 kids here. But because they're, mature and, my oldest, they have cars and jobs and, yeah, we're seeing some of that, like kind of looking in the future of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wonder what life's going to be like. Right now we don't have to, if I say I'm going to go see my best friend Emily in Wisconsin, I don't have to check with anyone.
Yeah, you don't have to look at the calendar, figure everything out. Yeah.
No, I mean, and so every once in a while that she lives 3 hours away and I go to her office, I get a Reiki session and a massage, and then I have dinner with her and I sleep over and then I drive back the next day. It's like less than 24 hours, but it's so restorative and it's like my absolute happy time.
Mm-hmm.
So every once in a while I get to Cuba City, Wisconsin, like, hey guys, I forgot to tell you I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, that sounds kind of great.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I remember when older parents would say to me, your older neighbors, oh, it goes so fast. And I'd be like, sure. Everybody says, but they're right.
Yeah.
They're right.
You are right. It is.
Yes.
And I think about my boys when they were 2 and 1, they're 14 months apart. And I don't have almost any memory of that. Like, I have pictures of that time, so I know I was there, but do you remember any of that?
I was pregnant for a long time. And then I also watched my sister's kids at the same time, which, I look back and it was such a fun, innocent, like, splashing in the rain puddles and all that goofy stuff, also messy and diapers and, all that other. I remember bits and pieces of it and really just only the good stuff. That's why I had 4 children. If it was brutal in the first one, then I wouldn't have had 3 more,
Right. I do remember going to give birth to Nicholas, and when the contractions started really strong, I was like, oh shit, I remember this. Now I remember this. This was not that much fun to squeeze.
Yeah. But I say it's the best day ever.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good, someone was saying, Jason always says we had someone, his mom passed away about 1.5 years ago. He's got all this jewelry of hers.
I just saw you post that.
Oh my God. It's so much. We didn't realize how much it was. 3 different people packed it up. And so we had all these bins in our garage and finally like, all right, kind of emotionally ready to kind of go through this.
That would be fun to go through. They all probably have so many stories.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe the volume of it. But anyway, someone came to our house to take a look at it that makes jewelry. And she had literally just lost her dog the day before. And her mom came with her.
I love my dog.
Oh, I know. And so her mom was like so happy. Her mom was like, I haven't seen you this happy in a long, like.
Oh, that's great.
And so Jason's like, yeah, he's like, I always say that, pets give us the lifetime of happiness or pets give us so many awesome days and one of our worst or something. He says something.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. The day I have my first dog that's finally my own. Her name is Olive. She's 5 years old. She brings me pure joy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to think about not having her, like I just can't even think about it.
I know. I kind of adopted slash stole my cat Ruby from my ex-husband. One of his girlfriend had her, and then she was getting attacked by one of her other cats. So Christopher
No.
didn't really want a cat, so I, arranged to take her
Mhm.
for a weekend, knowing that I'd never give her back.
Right.
And
Good for you.
yeah, and so she was only with me. Her name was Ruby for a year and a half, a little over a year, and she just was she was really old. We didn't even know how old she was, and
Yeah.
things were there. There were messes all over the house.
Oh, yeah.
The vet's like, there's just not much you can do. So we put her down, and I've never done that before. That was hard. And I
Hmm.
knew it was the right thing to do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
but that's not, oh my goodness, how do we get on the loss of pets? But
I don't know. How about how much joy pets can bring you?
yeah, right.
There we go.
Let's go back to the
Yeah.
joke. But she just would lay on me. She would take the top of her head and rub it back and forth
Ah.
enough where she'd knock my glasses off. And it was funny, the about a month and a half before we put her down, she really didn't want to be touched, and she wasn't snuggling like
Yeah, cats do that. They kind of shut down altogether. Yeah.
but the day right before we had the vet come to the house, she was on my lap, and she put her head and she just rubbed me as long as
Aww.
I was like, Ruby cat, I love you.
I think there's something to cats specifically, because we've always had cats, that like it's either somebody you've known or like there's something like clairvoyant about
Yeah.
kitties. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
one of those two.
So I just kind of focus, back to the silver lining part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, I provided her an awesome home for the end of her life. She was passed around throughout her life. We have no idea what she went through way early on. But she ended her life with someone that loved her, and
Yeah.
that was great.
That is great. That is
So,
great.
so 2021, what have you rattled around a mindset for this year? Are you kind of the pro, like, thank goodness we're in 2021, even though, there's still a lot of stuff to get through. It's not like something magically changed all of a sudden.
I don't think something magically changed. Actually, there was an SNL skit. I don't know if you saw it, but it was, oh gosh, I forget the actress, but she was saying, oh, now that it's 2021, COVID's over. Oh, it was just kind of funny, right? Yeah. Mindset for me for the new year, who doesn't like a clean slate, right?
For sure. Yep.
Everybody likes a clean slate. It's just to find more joy, right? And maybe be selfish a little bit in my joy. Right? And not that I won't try to find joy for my children or my husband, of course, but as I'm always trying to make sure my kids are happy, make sure their mental state is well, make sure everybody else, where I need to remember, wow, I used to sit and listen to music and find so much joy in it. Right. Or I used to be out in nature so much more and find so much joy in it. So making time to find the things that bring personal joy to myself.
Yep.
I think it's important.
I think it's more important than we know.
Yeah.
When I launched Socket, I launched it in August, and I've created a bunch of what I call Socket tips, and they're all on my website. If you go to simplysocket.com, go to Socket tips. And so they're just quotes I've written, and we try to, find pretty pictures to put behind them. But the first Socket tip I ever posted was, is it time to put yourself higher on the priority list? And that post went nuts. People were, I think it was shared 500 and something times.
Because I think you give yourself the opportunity and that it's okay. Reading that quote, right? Yeah.
And it's so easy to get trapped into a life of just doing things for others, taking care of others, taking care of kids, taking care of a marriage. There's so much that goes into the caretaking part of most women's lives that somehow, and this is such a current theme, but people feel guilty when they take half a second out for themselves, or they say no to something that they just really frankly don't want to do because they're going to be sitting on their couch. I've gotten good with
You are good at that. I was just going to say, I admire that about you. I remember hearing you say you didn't do early morning meetings, right? And I was like, good for Cathy. Because I run some of those early meetings, and even running of them, it's like, oh my God, it's so early, you know.
I know.
But I remember you saying that stuck with me. I'm like, you know what? She's making that choice because she's an adult and she can.
Adult. I know. I
Yes.
decide that. And it's funny because really 11 o'clock is my first starting time for meetings, unless something,
Sure.
YPN wants me to come speak again. It'll probably be at 7:30.
Right.
YPN, you got my heart. I always tell Cathy Ross reached out to me. I was like, listen, you need me at 4 a.m. I'll get up. There's just a couple of places that are near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
I feel like my whole life in Naperville was created off of friendship.
Yeah.
Like you,
Yeah.
how many people? I mean, there's probably 30 of us.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Mhm.
So I certainly do make exceptions, but for the most, I know I got out of bed at 6:30 this morning. I've been working ever since. It's not as if I, eat bonbons in the morning or, I don't normally sleep too much later than say
Yeah.
7.
But I think decisions like that, Cathy, shows your confidence in yourself, right? Like, you're not going to a meeting because you were invited and now you get to be a part of that team, or, whatever it may be of the not the latter, but you're confident enough to know that that's just, what you're going to do regardless if it, advances or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that's a high five for that decision.
Because it is, you do get to like, oh man, I'm going to miss out, or, that kind of fear of missing out, a little FOMO. I don't know. I got over that because the more and more you do, especially, and you and I are similar, that we'll raise our hands and do stuff. And the more you raise your hands and say, yes, I can do that, or yes, I can help, the more you get asked. And at some point I got to a place where I was saying yes to everything. And I was just, all of it was good. It just was too much. And then I think when I came off the year after I was chairman of the board for the chamber, I was like, I am going to peace out a little bit. I literally was like, and we're hiring Nikki Anderson. Peace out.
Yeah, see ya. That's taken care of.
That's taken care of. Yep, that was my exclamation point for the ending of my year as chairman. So I don't know that I went to a chamber event I was still on the board, but I don't think I went to anything for a while. So
well, that's all right. We all got to do what you got to do at whatever time you need to do it. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Sure. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, this was fun.
I knew this conversation would go fast.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you look down, you're like, wow, where did all that time go? So if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do?
LinkedIn would probably be the best option. My name is Jackie, so it's JACQUE, and then the last name is Clermont, CLERMONT. So reach out, message me. If anybody wants to talk about going from stay at home back into the business world, or just talk, I'd be happy to help with that and kind of share my journey on that. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
And as many of you know, you can find me at simplysocket.com. My email is Cathy@simplysocket.com. I hope everyone has a great day. Jackie, I hope you have a great weekend. It is Friday.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
When we first got on the call today, I was thinking it was Monday. I was all screwed up. So I'm very happy it's Friday.
Friday is way better.
Way better. Have a great weekend, and I'm sure I'll chat with you soon.
All right. Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks for listening in, everyone.